So I've got the new Anbernic RG40XX H. And you know what? Yeah, I do like this handheld, but it's getting a little ridiculous. You guys know, Anbernic, they do make some nice handhelds. I do give them that. They have had some quality issues recently, from what I understand. Like, I didn't have an issue with my RG Cube. I thought that was an amazing handheld, but I know their initial shipment, from what I was hearing, had like light bleed issues, stuff like that. There's been a few little complaints, but I really haven't had issues with their handhelds. So hopefully those things get squared away and they don't have problems with their releases. But they do release a lot of stuff, and I think that is ridiculous. And they release the same chipset over and over and over again. It is a little ridiculous, man. It's hard to keep up. They just recycle the same thing, whatever the cheapest chipset or the chipset that they can get, a bunch of them, they just keep, rehashing them. That's just the way it is. But with this, the 40XX, it's the same exact thing as like their 28, their 35 series, all those handhelds that they've recently been releasing. They're just all in different form factors, shapes, stuff like that, right? So it's kind of like, what is your preference? Which shape, which size, do you like? So this thing, it's got that H700, chipset. I'll put all the specs on the screen as far as the, screen size and all that. I did get this from Go Game Geek. Came with a 64 gigabyte micro SD card. It does have games on it, all pre-set up. They've updated, I believe, to like a 64-bit, setup with these handhelds, and it does appear they are shipping them that way. And I know there was some controversy with that recently as far as like Portmaster stuff. I had to look into that a little bit because I wasn't exactly sure what was going on. I know Anbernic like released an update and it had a bunch of games on it, and then they took it down because people were complaining like, hey, you're pirating current stuff. I don't recall exactly what was on there. I think like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, which I've already seen on other handhelds in the past. But then like Stardew Valley is on here, but they removed the other games. I think Celeste is one of them. There's a couple games, but Stardew Valley was on this one. I do have to point that out, and I think that's one of them that people complained about. Like, hey, these more modern releases, they should not be putting them on these builds. And, it's up to you to decide how you feel about that. Like, everything on here, this besides some, ports that are like open source things, stuff like that, but everything else that's on here is pirated. You know what I mean? So just how you feel about it is there a time limit to it's okay with piracy? Is there like, hey, well, that's not commercially available and then it's okay? Like, I'm not going to sit here and argue with you. I don't care. It's you decide on that. But yeah, there was some controversy with that. So we've covered all these different handhelds with the same exact chipset. Nothing's going to really change as far as, the compatibility, right? So this thing, we do have I'm not connected to the internet, but you do have Wi-Fi, you have Bluetooth and all that. You do have HDMI. I did check that out. Works fine. I may have already showed a little bit of footage of that. So you can set this up as a console with a controller, all that good stuff, if you so choose. But let's test a few games out real quick just to see if this build is okay. Like PS1, do we have music in games? Because sometimes these builds, like, have to point that out. A lot of times they don't have music in the games because they just use messed up ROMs. I always go to Pepsi Man, but let me find something else. There's not really much on here. May as well just go to Pepsi Man then, because it's a quick game to get into. Screw it. But yeah, I do like the feel of this in my hands. It's like fairly portable. It's a smaller, like it's a medium-sized handheld. It's not tiny like the 28, handheld that they put out. You do got this goofy RGB lighting that some people like, some people don't like. But I like the screen. The screen's looking good. Most of these companies, the screens have been fine, man. Like that's the one good thing. I remember just a few years ago, it was really hit and miss with these screens. But most of these companies, especially Anbernic, they've been doing fine with these screens. They're not really cheaping out too much. Like you don't like tilt it and then like you can't see. You remember just a few years ago, it was like the viewing angles were bad. Like one way or another, it'd be like either you tilt it like that or tilt it like this and it would just dim. Screens have been great. Nothing to complain about with that. I need to go into a fighting game too, see if this D-pad, like so far everything feels fine. Okay, music's in the game. Yeah, I love the screen. It looks good. Speakers, where are the speakers coming out of? The bottom there? Sounding good. Am I out max volume? I think that's max volume. Sounds good. Okay. Hit the M button down there. Exit game. Okay, yeah, it just took me a second to get used to the D-pad. But it feels fine. It feels fine. The only thing for me is like I'm bumping my thumb into the analog stick down there a little bit. But I think I could get used to it. Not a big deal. But yeah, just keep that in mind. Feels good. See, we do have Nintendo 64. Let's see what they included on here. Not a lot. It's very small build. Let's try Wave Race. Yeah, this actually performs pretty well. Sometimes these handhelds, it'll actually stutter a little bit more than it did. Like, it only stuttered for half a second when I first booted the game up. Sometimes, like this game particularly, will stutter a little bit more than that, like into the first race. But this actually was a lot smoother than a lot of these other handhelds out there. And it looks really crisp, too. Very nice. Got some Dreamcast, not a lot here. It's like all your 8 and 16-bit stuff, you're going to have like full libraries, but all these bigger systems or systems that may be hit and miss, you're only going to have a small selection of games on these types of builds where it's only like the 64 gigabyte setup. Okay. Oh. Looking good here. This almost looks like a little PSP or Vita or something. It's really nice. Hey, actually, we should try out PSP. Okay. Little PSP action. Few little stutters there. I noticed. But overall, not too bad. So cool. I didn't want this video to be too long, as we've heavily covered these handhelds that use the same exact chipset, similar build. So, I mean, it's all going to be, you know, similar performance anyway. You know, it's just they kind of changed with the ports, with the updates that they've done here. But yeah, if you're interested, link down below in the pinned comment to Go Game Geek. Let me know what you guys think. Really do appreciate y'all. Bye.